I sit by the phone, but I haven't heard
both sides, stomach size and diameter.
And you know that money's for managers.
I know money's for managers.
I sit by the phone, but I haven't heard 2 spots and 10,000 challengers. I know the money's for managers, but goddammit, art is for amateurs.
Welcome, ladies, gents, and friends betwixt and beyond the gender binary. Welcome to Jam Mechanics Mansion. We have come back at the end of our 10-episode odyssey to reflect on the journey we've been on together. My name is Matt. I am from the act, The Narcissist Cookbook, and with me here is...
My name is Bug. I am from a band called Bug Hunter.
Yeah, this is going to be a weird episode. We're going to look back at all of the songs that we've done. We're going to look at your rankings, because we asked everybody immediately after the last episode aired to rank their songs.
We've done a 10-episode season, and this episode is kind of meant to kind of cap it off. So if you haven't listened to the previous 10 episodes, this might not mean much to you, but this is something that we wanted to do because time has passed and we've gotten feedback, and it just seems like a good idea.
Yeah, so I think we're going to jump in as we always do, not just on the podcast, but also just in real life. Whenever we see each other, it's like icebreakers.
This will be the typical part of the episode. We're gonna hit each other with some icebreakers.
Yeah, on the subject of hitting each other, I've got a question here. It is phrased for both of us, but I'm just going to phrase it to you. Bug, if you had to defeat me in combat,
oh no,
what weapon would you choose?
This is an easy one. I would
gun.
Get gun. It would be a gun. Easy. I've heard. Most people don't know this about Matt. Very vulnerable to guns.
Like, you know, you've got werewolves, silver bullets.
Yeah.
You've got vampires, stakes through the heart. Me, guns.
No, I know what I would do. Just load up a portable Nintendo Switch with the game Peglin and the game Slay the Spire. Just throw it off into the corner and you're out of commission.
Little continuity problem there. Peglin is not on Nintendo Switch. But you know what? Slay the Spire is on there. I was just talking about, just before we hit record, about how I picked up Slay the Spire again. I had to really cut myself off and go cold turkey, and then the other day I was just like, I can just dive in, I can just have a quick one, and then it's absolutely ruined my life.
I gotcha. Yeah, I would do that. I think that takes you out of commission, and then that's when I use my gun.
Just point blank.
I'm gonna ask you this one, only to very briefly make fun of Puck. Puck asks, what would be the worst buy one get one sale item ever? And then someone immediately points out, buy one get one is just a sale. Yeah, you buy one, you get one
thing,
which is very funny. But I will, in the spirit of Puck's question, what's the worst buy one get one free sale item ever? What do you want one of but you don't want two of?
They have to be the same item.
Yeah, it's buy one get one.
Okay, right. No wrong answers. Babies.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Let's see. Lit dynamite. Buying a court summons online. Off the dark web.
What dark web are you buying? Babies, dynamite, and
oh no, I've been double booked for my court summons.
I think we know each other. We finally cracked that. So let's do this. We had everybody in our Discord and kind of just around our sphere go fill out a Google form after episode 10 came out, where we said rank each of our songs 1 to 10, basically. 1 is the best song that you like the most. 10 is your least best, I think I phrased it. So we've polled all of those numbers and aggregated them, and I have a spreadsheet, obviously. And so we are going to look and see what y'all thought before we kind of give our thoughts. What you, as the audience, thought was like your favorite Jam Mechanics songs from both of us. I'll start with mine. So the top 3 songs in this order, ranked by the fans themselves. Number 1, I was very surprised by this. I honestly would have put this song in my personal bottom 3.
Oh, wow.
But it was ranked number 1. Do you have a guess of what ranked number 1 out of all of my songs this season?
Nothing to do with how I feel about it, but in terms of how you feel about it, can I get 2 guesses?
No, you get one guess.
Shit. Okay. Fuck. National anthem.
It was the Bugtopia national anthem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
People loved that.
Very few people ranked it as their favorite, but it was everybody's third favorite. Yeah, So it just because so many people ranked it kind of in the top three, it went to number one. Even though
this shows a bit of a problem with the ranking system.
You know, it's an imperfect science. I'm not a data scientist. I use it to look at general trends. So I look at the number. The number says it was the highest average ranked song, but then I can look at the chart and be like, there's a bell curve around the third spot. So
that's so interesting. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Next one for me was Dissin'.
Yeah, not surprising.
I got the most number one votes of any of my songs. So you can make an argument that Dissin' was probably what most people thought was the best song that I wrote this season. And then third for me was The Hook, which was episode 10. And that had a lot of first and second ranked votes, which I was very pleased with. So
can I tell you my top three for you in order?
Sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So my top three is Dissin', number one.
Okay.
The one that I am surprised is not in there is Francesco.
Francesco is 4.
That's so interesting to me because I think that is just such a perfect little song. And then The Hook I put down as number 3.
I was very surprised to see the national anthem break the top 3 the way that it did.
I'm not surprised because I was really paying attention to the reaction to that song.
I think the interesting thing that I think about Bugtopia is that was very early on in the podcast. I felt like the national anthem song worked really well in the context of the episode it was in. And that was kind of the thing that I was kind of like going back and forth on as I was writing it was, is this song supposed to be, like make sense completely out of context, or are we making a podcast where the content of the podcast exists within itself, right? And it was before we had released any episodes. It was the second thing we recorded. But so that's, at the time I was like, I feel like this is funny. I made fun of you a little bit with the Lord of the Rings trilogy like joke that I was making that only made sense if you listen to the podcast. And so I was not as enthused about the song because of that, because there was so much tied to listening to the 15 minutes that preceded the song being premiered. So.
I think there's also an element of like maybe I had so much positive feeling attached to it because that was the first time I just got to do the magic trick of saying, hey, Bug, I think you should write a song. You should write a song. And then you wrote a song. And it was about kind of the thing I asked you to do. And I'm like, this is perfect. This is my favorite podcast. Do you wanna hit me with my...
I'll hit you with your top 3.
Okay, right, okay.
Number 1, Accident?
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next one, Get Deep Fried.
Yeah, okay.
And coming in at number 3.
Oh, right, okay.
It's the original BUG, Buried Under Gary.
That is so good. You want to know what my top 3 is?
What's your top 3?
Accident, Buried Under Gary, and Deep Fried.
Amazing.
Like, as in, like, I don't know that those are my strongest songs that I've written, but I think those are the ones that are closest to being finished. And it's also really satisfying because they're all about kind of spooky shit. You know, Accident is about someone becoming God. Buried Under Gary is about what the creature buried under Gary, Indiana. And Get Deep Fried is about fighting off, potentially, the creature that was buried under Gary, Indiana. You know, like that's actually a sort of little story, which I realized, and I really appreciated that. Yeah. So, yeah, I think if I was going to just hit go on any 3 songs, it would be those 3. I think those 3 work best.
My top 3 for you.
Hit me.
These are not in any order, but Buried Under Gary, I have the Alpaca song in my top 3. Because
really?
I laughed so hard at the Alpaca song. And then the other one I had was Accident. So it was the second episode. It was so different from the World Yet to Come, you know, on a just totally different end of the spectrum. So I was like, okay, Matt is capable of doing all of these things in these 3 hours.
Yeah, I think Accident is more of a tone setter with where I go for the rest of the season.
It's more similar, yeah.
I listened back to these. I made sure it was like the last thing I did before we hit record. I listened back to all of them. Accident feels like the kind of song that I would have written really early on that could have gone on Eating Disorder. I do have like a lost song from that era called All About Me, which has a similar sort of breakdown. It feels like it could have existed in that era, and that's sort of exciting to know that I can get to that place occasionally. Yeah. The ones that I'd want to go back and work on, I think Over the Mountains to Santo Domingo, I like a lot, and the reaction to it has been really good.
That was your number 4.
That was my number 4. That doesn't surprise me.
Do you want to get into the bottom 3 for both of us?
Yeah, okay, hit me.
I'll do my bottom 3 first. I have no surprises on these. My bottom 3 were Kick and Spin, Season Your Beanie, and Alien.
Per Season Your Beanie.
Yeah, but it wasn't last. Season Your Beanie was not last.
Oh, what was last?
Alien, which makes sense to me. Alien, again, going back to this outside of the podcast versus inside of the podcast, right? It's not a full song. It completed your challenge for that podcast episode.
Yeah, that was the one where you had a really like a big hand tied behind your back.
It was 42 unique words for the song, and so it ended up just being kind of like 3 verses with some instrumentals. It forced me to do something for the podcast, and I did it for the podcast. I totally understand why it doesn't resonate with people, especially on a list of 10 other songs or 9 other songs. When you look at like my ego and my self-esteem about like my music, if people thought that Alien was the worst song that I wrote, that's fine. I did a good job on the challenge. I think it's a cute little song, and it has some ideas that I really liked. My feelings aren't hurt. If Dissin was the last on the list, my feelings would be hurt. Right, because I feel like I put like so much like cool stuff in there, and I thought it was so fun and so cool, and nobody liked it. Yeah. Whereas Alien is it's a different thing.
I really want to hear my bottom 3.
Your bottom 3, as voted by the audience, is Wet Cement.
Interesting.
I'm going to come back to that. Chris, Misunderstanding.
Yeah.
And The World Yet to Come.
Really? Whoa, okay.
Okay, I immediately hold issue with the Wet Cement in bottom 3 because, and sorry, it's not Wet Cement, it's Fresh Cement.
Fresh Cement.
It's Fresh Cement. I wrote Wet Cement in the form, and nobody brought it up except one person.
Can I pause for a moment? One of my favorite things to come out of this whole season, one of my favorite things, was someone who was listening to Fresh Cement when it was released, and they were in the chat, and the last line of the song is "Our footprints in fresh cement," and they heard our fur prints, and they were like, "Are you talking about their dog? Is their dog?
The dog is in the cement." The fur prints became a joke in the Discord, and that was
so funny.
Funny.
It's actually to the point where it's actually overshadowed the song to me. Is I think I would want to sing that live. The only thing that's left is our fur prints in
Wet Cement. So good.
Okay, right. Tell me why Fresh Cement being in the bottom 3 isn't.
I'm mad about it. Fresh Cement is so good. It's a turn it up in the car, sing it out at the top of your lungs song.
You know what I will say about Fresh Cement is I was listening to that today, and I'm pretty fond of it, and I was thinking of ways I could like make it more interesting to listen to, and I feel like Fresh Cement is good, and I feel like it could have been written by pretty much anybody. I think it's good, but I don't think it sounds like it doesn't sound like an inherently Narcissist Cookbook song, and I can't fault people for that.
I understand that. I think when we did the episode, I did say something along the lines of it is kind of just like it's straight down the middle.
Yeah.
Where maybe you're right. Maybe it is a great song, but maybe it's not a great Narcissist Cookbook song because it doesn't have you in it as much as what you normally write.
Yeah. It's in my list of songs that I'd want to go back and work on.
Yeah.
I think there's something there, and now I don't want to go back and work on it. Fuck you guys.
Cool. So we've kind of talked about audience, the rankings, our rankings, and that kind of stuff. Here's what we kind of have planned for the second half of this episode is we have audience questions, and then we're going to do something fun. We're going to do a little make-believe in a pretend little time machine. We're going to kind of pretend that maybe we were doing jam mechanics 7 years ago, 6 years ago, and say we had said, "Hey, Matt, write a song about ghost stories." So what we're gonna do is we went back into our archives and we found old versions of our popular songs. These are songs that have been released and generally well received by our fans. We found basically what the songs look like after 3-ish hours maybe of working on it.
Yeah.
I think it'll be very interesting for people to see kind of where these songs existed in that same state. So you can kind of get an idea of the difference between a Jam Mechanics demo and a finished song.
Who wants to go first?
Well, I have a whole list of questions that I have taken from our forum and from our email. Thank you for people who have sent in questions. Coin asks, if Matt had to pick one of Bug's songs to fully produce and release and vice versa, which song would you choose and why? So this is, I'm going to take one of your 10 Jam Mechanics songs, and it's a Bug Hunter song now, actually. Thank you. I'll put you in the credits, but it is a Bug Hunter song. What would I choose? And then vice versa. Do you?
Dissin, fuck you, it's mine.
I would love to see you take my instrumental and go for it. You do Dissin. That's fine.
What do you mean take your instrumental? I'm taking your song, I'm taking your lyrics.
Do the whole thing. Do the whole thing. No,
but like if I was going to choose a song, the one that I would want to cover would either be Dissin or The Hook, maybe.
Songs that the ones I really liked, like the Alpaca song, Get Deep Fried, Accident, I feel like I couldn't do them in the same way that you do. You just have a talent for like the more like personality based songs like those that I just wouldn't be able to replicate. One that jumps out to me, Over the Mountains, Santo Domingo, I feel like could exist kind of in my wheelhouse that I could do well. Whereas I wouldn't have the talent to do something like The World Yet to Come.
I don't have the talent to do that. Like, God help anyone who asked for that live.
Okay, here's a very kind of specific question. If you had to take one of your Jam Mechanics song, polish it up, and use it to replace a song on any of your albums, what song would you pick? Which would you replace? Or what album would you put it on?
Moth. I recorded that for an audience of about 5 people. Mm-hmm. I didn't think anyone would ever listen to it. And I might decide to cut this out. There are 2 tracks on there. The last track on each side. So track 7 and track 15 that should not be on there because one is a cover of a song that I didn't get the rights to. It's not a cover. It's a reworking of a song. So I take about half the lyrics and I change the melody and then I change up about half the lyrics. And one contains a sample from a very popular television sci-fi show.
a UK-based?
Nope, American-based, one of the most popular science. It contains the Star Trek The Next Generation theme right at the end. And I have thought, I should probably go back and take those out. I should probably go back and say this album is now 2 songs shorter. If I was going to go back and put something in there, the obvious one would probably be Year of Confusion. I think like a reworked version of Year of Confusion would probably fit on Moth pretty well.
The opera could technically maybe work on Happiness Without a Catch because Happiness Without a Catch, every song on there is a different movie genre. So having
but then what song from Happiness do you delete?
It'd have to be a bonus track because
that's not what they asked.
What?
That's not what the question asked. The question is what song would it replace? I deleted 2 songs off my album.
I would take Season Your Beanie and I would replace Dear McCracken on the rough draft.
Fuck you. What a non-answer.
I think the best I can come up with is maybe finishing up Memories, and Memories could maybe work on Bigger Than Myself.
Yeah, that's a good shout. So what track on Bigger Than Myself do you think sucks and you've wanted to get rid of since you put it out?
I think it could maybe sit in the hide and seek spot.
Hide and seek fans, get in the emails.
All 2 of you. I'll be waiting your response. Hide and Seek is a song about how I moved around a lot as a kid. Memories is also about a bad childhood memory and how it kind of sticks out in my head. So I could see Memories kind of sitting in that spot, not doing it as well, but if I had to
Memories is such a gorgeous song, and I've been privileged enough to hear like a vague rewrite that you've been doing, just like playing around with it, tinkering with it. Such a beautiful hook like that. The hook is so good.
Another question: what do you admire the most about one another? For example, process, creativity, musicality, personality. I think somebody just wants us to be nice to each other. I'll go first. There was that moment when you reached out to me over Facebook DMs and was just like, hey, I'm a songwriter. We're similar artists on Spotify. And I went and listened to Courtney and I was like, this is so good. This is so good. And there was one specific part of Courtney that turned me from like, this is a good song to like, I need to pay attention to this person very closely. And it was the delivery that you had of, there's a line in Courtney where you say, pretty weird, Courtney, pretty weird, not incriminating on its own. And your delivery of that line was so dramatic. I thought, is this person, have they done voice acting? Were they in theater? There was something so, not just I'm singing a song, but I'm playing a character at this moment and doing it very, very well that I was so impressed by.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate, like, one thing I really appreciate about you, and this is sort of neither a musical thing nor like a personal thing, but it's like something that I constantly sort of, I say strive towards. I don't, because it's so it's so outside my capability, is you are like so like driven. Like you are just like, I don't think there's so many people, myself included, so many people in this business have this idea of like, oh, I couldn't do that. We can't, that's not possible. I'm not going to do that. But it's like when you get an idea in your head, you're just like, I'm going to do it, or I'm going to find out why it's literally impossible to do it in the process. And then in the process of figuring that out, I'm going to figure out what version of it I can do. Like it's so... You're so driven of just being like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go on tour. I'm going to make this album. I'm going to put a band together. I'm going to do this, this, and this in a way that is really rare, for a subculture that consists of artists, to have that not even necessarily business driven, but just, okay, I've got the making things, but also I'm going to approach the doing things with the same drive that I approach the making things is really rare and incredible and very, very cool. And that is very, very cool.
It's just spreadsheets, Matt. It's just spreadsheets.
I don't understand how spreadsheets work. Spreadsheets have coding in them. Spreadsheets have, and it's not it's not just spreadsheets. You got to make the spreadsheet, and then you got to do the spreadsheet.
Yeah, that is sometimes the hard part. I make more spreadsheets than I do.
But also personally, you are just so easy to spend time with. Like being in a van is my nightmare. Being in a van, just being in a van.
Just being in a van is
oh god, no, yeah,
a van.
Being in a van, yeah, absolute nightmare scenario. And I threw myself into that situation expecting the worst and came out being like, oh, that was so easy. And it wasn't easy because I was wrong. It was easy because I was right about everyone else in the world except you and your friends.
This is, if we want to give if you are a musician and you are wanting to do music in whatever capacity, in like if you want to do small tours or you want to play shows or you want to kind of live in like kind of the music world, here's my advice as someone who's been through it. You have to love the people around you. You surround yourself with people that you enjoy being around. The people that I travel with are my father. We are best of friends. Matthew. We are best of friends. Kyle and Jesse, my two bandmates, we are best of friends. The five of us, Matt, can you remember one argument, one drama from the road where
no, not at all.
Anybody got heated, mad, angry, upset, cried?
And you would know because the second I encounter an inconvenience, I just come out swinging, like with my fists, feet, and head.
Can I tell my favorite tour anecdote about you?
I'm just going to hover my finger over the leave button, but yeah, go ahead.
No, I love this. So that we had the first UK tour that Matt and I did. Literally, we met in Edinburgh that morning, and we were on stage in Glasgow that night playing a show together. We were relying on you to drive that entire tour because we were just loading up your car. And you were so stressed out about having to drive around London.
I grew up in a tiny island, with one road.
You were like, this is the one thing that I am so scared about. And that was like about halfway through the tour. And we're in London. We're in like the full like Buckingham Palace to our right, Big Ben to our left. And you are just cool as a cucumber. You're doing it. And then afterwards you're like, that wasn't that bad. And it was this like character progression of like you fulfilled like your destiny of driving around London on that tour. And I'll never forget how happy I was.
The realization that I'd spent so much time being like, I'm so stressed out about driving through London, and it was it was very it was a lot, but it was totally okay. And then I got £500 worth of fines.
And then 6 months later, you got a bill for £500 for driving around that area with your car that wasn't like registered to drive in that area.
Yeah, my diesel car in a low emission zone.
You didn't tell me about it for like a year.
Yeah, because I was like, I can afford this. This is fine. I did this to myself. I'm not exaggerating. I think it was like £400 or £500 worth of fines.
Let's do it. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to show off some old demos that are these songs that you know. We haven't heard each other's yet.
Nope.
So it'll be a blind reaction for each other's music. I think it'll be very interesting. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
So the context for this is this was maybe the second or third spoken word track that I'd ever written. I had literally just sat down, gotten some emotions out onto paper. I did no editing whatsoever. I did no waiting. I just hit record, picked up a guitar, and performed it within 30 seconds of hitting the last lyric. This would have been recorded in a probably late 2014, 2015, and after that, I put it in my set. I'll tell that afterwards. But yeah, let's hit going. I actually haven't listened to this in a long time. Oh,
great. Cool. So it's about 10-year-old demo of a song called Ghost Stories, and I am going to hit play in 3, 2, 1, go.
You asked me why I love you, and I said, I've loved a lot of people. Or I thought I did, and I wrote it off because they left, or I left, so it couldn't have been love to begin with. And I thought I was so fucking smart when I was 23. I'd given up on loving what I'd never have. I was real, and I loved like real people loved, and I kept real people's secrets, and I thought I was dark and mysterious and suave. And now I'm 28, and I look back on 23-year-old me, and I think, Jesus Christ, what a fucking dick, what a leech, treating relationships like an ice cream factory, eating all I could handle, then throwing it all back up and running away. And yeah, I'm not 23 anymore, but I'm still me. And what's more, I still want to run away sometimes. A lot of times, actually. In that stupid little way I do, where I lock myself in my room and I watch strangers play video games till my brain starts to leak all over the sofa, and I get high, and I write, and I sing, and I hope it still sounds good when I'm sober. And shit, you asked me a question. I guess I'm scared that I'm imaginary. That I invented who I am so other people wouldn't have to. That who I really am is secondary to what I want everyone else to see. And I'm scared that I'm crazy, but I'm twice as scared I'm sane, because then what excuse do I have for treating people like problems that need to be solved or explained? And that's where you come in. Because you've taught me that people can't be explained. That we're all ghost stories, and that we should aim to stay that way. That there's probably a reason why we do the marvelous, horrible things we do, but the reasons are too simple to be satisfying, and then we're left forgetting and remystifying each other because we don't really want to understand why we hurt each other. I used to be afraid of ghost stories, but I'm not so afraid of them anymore. And so to answer your question, I love you because I have to. There isn't any why about it any more than there's a reason why water vapor gathers in the sky, or why the nettles in the garden won't go away no matter how much the guy downstairs tries to keep them at bay. There isn't any why about it. There's a how, I suppose, but I don't understand it. And I really hope that's the answer you're looking for. I don't know why I love you, and maybe if I dug around a bit, I'd find out where that love comes from or what it's for. But then the question would be answered, and the ghost story would be over, and no point in telling it anymore. And right now, I'm just happy to let it be. to let you be you and me be me and watch Fraggle Rock and Community and sleep and dream important dreams and make important plans and hope to God that we're not lying to ourselves when we say I love you. I am never not going to be afraid that I'm lying. But I'm not going to let that fear scare me away this time. And so I'm here. And I'm telling you as honestly as I can that I'm here to stay.
Yeah, you can hear. So the thing that changed from there is that I wrote that, put it into my brain, and then I went and performed it live a couple of dozen times. And you can hear, if you're familiar with the version that was released in 2017, you'll be like, oh, this is missing so many of the bits that are like the best parts of that track. You know, the bits are all there, but like the performative bits aren't there. I don't know. What was your reaction?
It's very, very cool how much of Ghost Stories is here in this song, right? Like, you listen to this, you're like, this is most of it. The performance of Ghost Stories is not there yet, right? This is a recitation of Ghost Stories.
Yeah. This was before I was comfortable going on stage and being like, oh, I'm going to like play a character and I'm going to like do a role.
Yes. You know, because I've seen you perform Ghost Stories. I've seen you perform it dozens and dozens of times. It's in every set that you play. And not having the pauses and the emphasis on certain lines is so interesting to me. I think this is going to be interesting when we listen to mine, because yours is content-wise very similar to what Ghost Stories ended up being, but performance-wise in a totally different ballpark, right? You improved upon these lyrics and this idea by just performing it, right? Whereas my original version, Too Bad, Too Bath, and a Ghost, very, very similar kind of cadence, different lyrics. So yeah, it was very interesting to kind of hear how it started. Knowing both versions, the performative choices that you chose to put into Ghost Stories, I feel were all great choices.
Thank you.
You know, there is something about this that does kind of feel just like a little like Captain's Log diary, kind of like I'm just sharing my thoughts, and there's something raw to it that is good. I think anybody who's a fan of Ghost Stories will actually really like this demo of it a lot. Because it does feel a little bit more, I'm saying this off the top of my head.
Yeah, this is something we were also talking about very vaguely before we hit record, but something that is no longer possible, really, for us when we put on a show. You know, people are going to be coming to the show who know who we are. Is, you know, I wrote Ghost Stories. Nobody knew who I was. Nobody gave a shit. I could go to an open mic or play a show, and I could play that song 25 times live before I figured out what it was supposed to be. And I would cut things out and I would put things in. And I can't do that anymore, really. Like, in general, what I need to do now is get to a point where the song feels finished on record, put it out, and then perform it live. And I think there is an important part of the process that is lost there, kind of. You can make up for that in different ways. But yeah, what's interesting for me in that I didn't expect is not just the things that I added, but the things that I cut out. I'm much more explicit in this version, where I'm like, here is what the Ghost Story represents, and here's this, and here's that. And I think part of my process at this point was like, how do I not just be every other spoken word performer, and trying to find what my style was. And part of that style is making things less explicit. I think, something that I think about a lot, final thought, is how would stopping a garden hose with your thumb have come out if I'd performed it as many times live as ghost stories, because I hear this and I'm like, oh, this feels a lot like the recording of stopping a garden hose with your thumb.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes, in a way, a weakness of stopping a garden hose with your thumb is like it has no live experience. Like, this has not left my living room. This hasn't hit an audience. This doesn't have a performative element of it, because getting that performative element without an audience there to build it up is really weird. So yeah, I don't know. There's just some thoughts. I want to hear this 3-bed, 2-bath, and a ghost.
This is a little more recent than Ghost Stories. Two Bed, Two Bath was written from the moment I wrote it to when it was released, was probably the shortest turnaround on a song I've ever written, because I felt the song was so strong and I really wanted to get it out into the world. So this was the first version of Two Bed, Two Bath, and a Ghost, titled 3-Bed, 2-Bath, and a Ghost. That was literally just me, phone voice memos on like the floor, single guitar. So it's not going to sound super great, but you should be able to hear it just fine. This is the very first night that I wrote words down for Two Bed, Two Bath, and a Ghost, and kind of my very first like phone recording of it. So you just you tell me when.
3, 2, 1, and a ghost.
The old man next door says his house is haunted. If it is, well, who could say? Think he's having a hard time, to be honest, since his darling passed away. But a shame with bruises, each day confuses me with his day, The old man next door says his house is haunted, but oh well. I say, Robert, why you do this? Your house ain't haunted, you're just not used to being alone. Robert, the creaks and ships are just the sounds you missed when you shared your home. He says, no, I've had so many close calls. The pictures on the walls keep falling as I'm walking down the stairs, and to my utmost frustration, I swear my medication keeps moving to the oddest parts, I swear. And the furniture shifts, and it caused me to trip. I wake up with my pillow on my face every time. I know it seems silly, this house is trying to kill me. Will you just stay with me one night? I said, Robert, why you do this? Your house ain't haunted, you're just not used to being alone. Robert, all the ships and creeks are just the signs of grief now that you don't share your home. But alright, I'll go. Feeling like a fool as I'm laying on the couch in this old man's house. I hear all the normal sounds you'd expect to hear around an old man's house. But wait, I hear footsteps. They're getting louder and louder and louder and louder and louder and louder and louder until they stop right up above me. And I go running up the stairs, and I'm so damn scared. And Robert's yelling words that I probably shouldn't share. I burst into the room, and by the light of the moon, it's a ghost as real as both me and you. Robert sits up and he raises his head. His skin is pale white as the sheets on his bed. He looks at the face of the specter that haunts him and says, darling? And the ghost says, Robert, I'm so sorry, didn't mean to scare ya, I'm just not used to being alone. Robert, you see, death's a one-way street, and I can't go back down that road. Robert, I figured you might have missed me. I thought a haunting might do the trick. Robert, I betcha, I thought I'd just get ya. I don't remember ya being this quick. The old house next door's got a sign out front now. For sale sign signed to a post. So to all you shoppers, you can make an offer on a 3-bed, 2-bath, and a ghost.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. I made notes this time.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, immediately, like, what's your feeling listening back to that?
So many lyric changes.
Yeah, structure entirely
structure-
the same.
Exactly.
You had the
same.
structure like from the beginning.
Except the entire ghost reveal. It wasn't the butler.
I have that
the
written down.
groundskeeper.
Yeah,
Yes.
like that's a, you know, and what this taught me is that like I didn't know how necessary that bit was until I heard the song without it. Like whenever I hear that, I'm like, this is a funny joke and people are loving it. And then I'm like, oh, when you take it out, that song just sort of the momentum just grinds to a halt.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was the key. It was the key to the song. I don't think if I hadn't written that part, that was my biggest like red flag in my spreadsheet was I need something to transition from kind of the spooky what's going on to the somber kind of ending. And I had nothing.
It also makes the character more three-dimensional, you know, which is, you know, when you're telling a story, that is really important. What's really fun is when I can hear you finding a line that you like creaks and shifts, and I don't remember you being this quick. When there's so much that's different, but that stayed the same from the very first draft. That's really cool.
What I do when I write songs, I put all the lines into a spreadsheet and I just kind of like rank every line by what they're doing and how well they do it. And I can almost see in my head, like when you hit a line that's the same between both versions, you can almost see in the spreadsheet, that was fine. It was like an 8 or a 9. It's good, right? And then you can see the ones that were not as well and how they got replaced into things that are much smoother. Maybe they're the same idea, right? In that second verse, I have the things falling off the wall, his medication moves, the concept of what happens in that verse. I don't think changes at all, but it's just how I phrase it and how I deliver it and how it flows into each other and how it rhymes. Completely different after coming back to it later on and giving it a second coat of paint, I guess. I'm so glad that I found Robert, I'm so sorry over Robert, why you do this?
Yeah, like, I mean, this is the difference between a version that would make people cry and would not make people cry.
Oh, yeah. I took that line from, that's something I say to Ladybug around the house, just like, you know, we're joking around. If she ate like the last yogurt that I wanted out of the fridge or something, I'd be like, why you do this? Why you do this to me? I think I just kind of took that into the song as I was just trying to come up with the words. So, Robert, why you do this?
Yeah, well, let's see that. It's interesting again that the evolution of ghost stories from demo to finished draft and the evolution of this to finished draft completely different because you just locked in for 4 or 5 days and were like done, it's finished. Whereas I was like, I need a year and a half of I wrote this very quickly and now I need to go out and perform it and very gradually make changes to it.
Yeah.
I think that's a craft issue. You know, like over time you get a sense of craft and how you know where you're trying to get to something, you know.
You can see the foundation here. You can see how it started. But might be closer to what a jam mechanics demo of this song would have looked like if you had just said, "Hey, your prompt is write a song about a haunted house," and I came back 3 hours later. It would have been more like this than the final project. So
I will bet I'm going to be really plugged in to how our listeners are going to respond to these. And hopefully it gives you a sense of, you know, if you feel like what you're writing isn't good enough, if you're comparing what you're writing to Two Bed, Two Bath and a Ghost or to ghost stories, this will give you a sense of how much those tracks evolve to become the tracks that you compare things to.
Yeah, no, I think it's cool to see. Even for me, Bug Hunter was established. Take It Back, Disco in the Panic Room, Be Glad I Love You. I mean, like we had these songs people love, and there's an idea here, but it's not something that you would probably expect would be the first draft of a song by an artist that has previously written songs that you like. But that's what it looked like. That's what it looked like after 3 hours. It was this. So.
And to sort of apply that to some of the stuff from this season, one of my big sticking points in the most popular song, which is "Accident," is that opening line. I hate the rhyming couplet right at the beginning. I think the rest of the song is fine. That opening line of "I was walking to work today, crossing the street, you gotta look both ways." I know. I'm like, oh, come on.
But it's a starter. I heard that line and I knew exactly what it was. It was, I need to start this song. Here you go. Here, fine.
And there is a question. This is maybe a question to sort of end the season on, of something I think a lot about, which is watching artists that I have looked up to my whole life get older, keep working, but their attitude almost uniformly across the board changes. And their attitude changes, which is like, hey, I have watched people respond to my work. I'm very lucky to be in a place, I'm talking as this other character, whoever they are. I'm very lucky to be in a place now where I am very successful. A lot of people have seen my show, or they've read my books or whatever. And I have noticed a disconnect between the things that I put a lot of work into and the things that people resonate with. And I am done with working myself into an early grave. I'm not going to stay at the office. I'm not until 4 a.m. and then sleep at the office for 4 hours and then wake up again. Maybe from now on, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be quicker at being like, it's done, push it out the door. And a lot of people, understandably, get to a point later in their life. They run it. They have other responsibilities. They have less energy. They've been doing it for long enough, and also they have that disconnect between what they put work into and what they get feedback on and people like, where they're just like, whatever, it's good enough. And whatever, it's good enough was like the antithesis to how I worked for so long. But when I hear something like, I was walking to work today, crossing the street, you got to look both ways, I know. And then people say, that's my favorite song you've written of the entire season. I'm like, well, why should I change it? You know, why should I try harder to come up with an opening line when the rest of the song is fine? The rest of the song is great. It does its job. It's just a weak opening line. Is it really worth me going back in and re-recording the entire song? Because I would have to. Is it worth me going back in and recording the entire song again just to get a better opening line, when actually that opening line doesn't seem to have had any impact at all on whether people enjoy the song or not? And I don't have an answer to that question.
You know, here's my guiding principle on it, right? Is at the end of the day, some things are good enough. Sometimes I do work harder to make something probably not as good. It's definitely happened. There's probably been times where I was like, I need to change this to make it better. And I turn it into an objectively or subjectively, for most people, worse thing. But what I need to do is I need to get on stage every night and play these songs. And I have to not in the back of my head think, I wish I could have changed that.
Yeah.
But it's locked in now.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about, there's certain lines in songs that I play every night that I think to myself, I wish I had given 2 more hours of work onto that line and come up with something else, because now I have to sing this forever and I don't want to. And so that to me drives me more than, do people like it or not? I have to like it at the end of the day.
I think also, like, I think at my best and at a sort of the purest answer I can give is that the process itself is fun. And the feeling that I get, the drug that is released into my body when I sit down and be like, this line sucks, and I am going to bash my head against this until I break through this wall and get to a finished product. Like, nothing compares to that. Like, that's there's a reason I'm still doing this after so long. And a good example of that is the bridge at the end of Simplest Words, where I wrote the simplest words very quickly and then spent a year and a half coming up with the best possible version of those of that last crowd chant. And I did that not because I felt like I had to or because I owed anybody. I was just like, as frustrated as this is making me, I love this process.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like this is That's the end of the season, and that's actually the end of the season. You know,
This is the end of the season.
We might have a little something, but the point is, we will be back. This has been so much fun. The best way to find out when we're going to be back is either join the Discord, go on the Instagram, or make sure that you are like subscribed to our podcast, because when we are coming back, we will almost certainly put out like a little 30-second trailer being like, we're coming back in 2 weeks. You know, get ready, get primed.
And it shouldn't be too long. It's not going to be years. It's not going to be measured in years.
No.
We just need a little break to work on a couple of things. We're working on touring. We're working on other projects.
I have a whole album I'm meant to be doing. You know, a whole album and Slay the Spire and a podcast. Impossible.
So we're just going to take a small break just to make sure that we can prioritize the other things that we're working on.
Yeah, so keep your eyes peeled. We will be back before too long. It is almost certainly going to be, it will be a case of months rather than anything longer than that. And, but yeah.
Oh, Matt. I forgot to. There was a listener question that I forgot to include earlier on. Do you mind if I read it off right now?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's someone asks, will you ever release the theme song as a standalone song? Yeah, so our theme song is a little chorus snippet that I wrote a long time ago called Artists for Amateurs. When we wanted to come up with a theme song for the show, we recorded like 3 or 4 episodes, and we're like, we should have a theme song before we release this because it just sounds weird coming out of dead air. Let's work on this chorus. So we recorded like 30 seconds of music, and we have heard every week.
Every single week.
It's
all people want to hear.
There is no such thing as an email sent to hello@jammechanics.com that has not ended with, P.S. Where can I find the full version of Artists for Amateurs? Wouldn't it be crazy if that entire song was written, produced, and done? Wouldn't it be crazy if that's how we ended this episode?
Wouldn't it be crazy if the entire season was in the same way that you will watch a young Superman or a young Indiana Jones movie
Or Young Sheldon.
And they go like the whole season without playing the theme song, and they play the theme right at the end, and you're just like, there it is. Wouldn't that be crazy?
What if when we played the outro music of this podcast, maybe it didn't stop after 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Maybe it kept going. And wouldn't it be crazy if the song that plays here were available right now on our website and Bandcamp at jammechanics.com?
That would be so crazy.
This has been season 1 of Jam Mechanics. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I've been Bug from Bug Hunter.
I am Matt from the Narcissist Cookbook.
And remember, Artists for Amateurs.
I sit by the phone, but I haven't heard both sides, stomach size, and diameter. And you know that money's for managers.
I know money's for managers.
I sit by the phone, but I haven't heard 2 spots and 10,000 challengers. I know the money's for managers, but goddammit, art is for amateurs.
They call us back on stage, so we hit them with the classic.
The massive hit we rip before the music from the masses.
Tried half a dozen albums to recapture all the magic.
Hey, I love your latest single.
Wait, are you being sarcastic?
Well, maybe all the labels put a damper on the passion, or maybe at a certain age it's hard to make it happen.
But anyways, I'll just take a class to learn to meditate. Anything to keep them saying, damn, he peaked at 28.
I sit by the phone, but I haven't heard
Both sides, stomach size, and diameter.
and you know that money's for managers.
I know money's for managers.
I sit by the phone, but I haven't heard 2 spots and 10,000 challengers. I know the money's for managers, but goddammit, art is for amateurs.
I know it's warranted and awesome as an option. It's just a prenup is a bummer of a document. Take the butterflies and lovey eyes and beat it, please. Make a marriage feel like lawyer fees and legalese. But I assert it is worth it for the vows, not the dowries or endowments or for the decorative towels. You can sign the dotted line to show the government you doubled up, but don't forget the sweaty palms or leave behind the puppy love.
I sit by the phone, but I haven't heard both eyes, stomach size, and diameter. And you know the money's for managers. Yeah, I know money's for managers. I sit by the phone, but I haven't heard 2 spots and 10,000 challengers. I know the money's for managers, but goddammit, art is for amateurs.
You see,
see, the thing is, the further you get from a cheap guitar, 3-bar chords, and a tape deck, and making your art for the fun and the sake of it.
The more space you just make for the bullshit.
So spare a thought for the middleman who couldn't make anything but bank champ, but I need a rhyme and a hook, not a tie and a suit. And I'm all in, man, this is all that I know how to do.
I sit by the phone, but I haven't heard
Both thighs, stomach size, and diameter.
And you know the money's for managers.
I know money's for managers.
I sit by the phone, but I haven't heard 2 spots and 10,000 challengers. And I know the money's for managers, but goddammit, art is for amateurs. I sit by the phone, but I haven't heard both thighs, stomach size, and diameter. And you know the money's for managers. Yeah, I know money's for managers. Don't stop when you're blocked and you can't rehearse. Don't abandon the band when you're bad at first. Put the pen in your hand and get back to work. God damn it, art is for amateurs.